You will find us on Andy's balcony 5 days a week here on beIN Sports. And for our international viewers, this programme is also available on YouTube. First up, thank you for all of the things that you've been suggesting that we can discuss.
Oh, getting something?
Indeed, and the reaction to the programme. As you can get me at Richard A.J. Keys on Twitter, or of course via the various beIN Sports social media appliances. Also worth pointing out that as we sit here, we remain at what we believe to be is a
safe
6 foot distance.
1.5 metres, I think, is the general consensus, Richard.
And in no way have Qatari regulations regarding COVID-19 been compromised in the making of this programme. I stopped saying that for a couple of days and I got the questions, why? So there we are. I think that's covered all bases.
Yes.
I'm up for a conversation today.
No, it's Friday. Are you up for a conversation or an argument?
No, a good conversation,
Okay.
which I think will spark, debate.
Okay, can I guess? No.
Let me say this to you at this point straight away. There is I've set a trap here. Now you have to not only find it, but when you found it, not fall into it. And if you escape said suggestion, I'll let you know.
Right.
Okay.
Well,
just keep you on your toes.
Well, that's certainly keep me on my toes.
So,
No, I'm not so sure about this.
by the way, I sit here day after day, Andy, in the most glorious of surroundings, and this country is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. They've done such a good job. Fingers crossed that we get back on course for 2022.
Yeah.
But it is surreal in many respects that I leave here, go and start to watch news programs from all over the world, and my goodness.
No, it's an unbelievably bad time. It's scary. It's scary. I mean, if we sometimes talk about a generation that doesn't realise what our parents and grandparents and great grandparents went through, and do you know it's as close to what it's different, but it's as close what the modern generation are facing now, Richard. It's close to what our parents and grandparents went through in the 40s.
Absolutely.
It's as close as that, and I think one or two now are suddenly going, wow, how did they cope back in the 40s as they came out of that Second World War? How on earth did anybody survive?
My mother always had what she called a war cupboard.
Yeah.
And she would put, because we couldn't afford too much, by the way, of groceries, but she would put a tin of something in that war cupboard on a weekly basis.
Normally be spam, wouldn't it?
Probably, And we used to give her such terrible stick about the war cupboard. But of course, she created this cupboard from a time, I mean, they had their first child, my eldest sister, in 1953. That was 8 years after the Second World War ended.
Yeah.
So you can understand always being a little edgy. And a war cupboard now seems like a very good idea, doesn't it?
I know.
Anyway, from the newspapers, let me start with the Daily Mail. Let's just have it. Son Heung-min hoping to complete his mandatory military service before he has to return to training with Tottenham.
Yeah.
If you remember, because South Koreans won Asian Cup.
Yes, 2018.
He didn't have to do the required 21 months, but he has got to get 3 weeks in order to meet legal requirements. So now's a very good time, and he's been given permission by Tottenham to do so. Now this is where I think we're going to get into some fairly heavy conversation. Martin Samuel today. Gordon Taylor, Chief Executive of the PFA, is deluded. It's a battle he can't win. He is alienating an already very angry public. This is the headline, and of course the debate is to whether Premier League footballers should take pay cuts or not. Now, I have a view on this that might surprise you.
You're about to say, I'm guessing, they shouldn't take pay cuts.
I'm not going to be that strong. I'm going to suggest to you that I think I can see all sides of this argument. Gordon's job is to represent his members to the best of his ability.
Get that.
His members being footballers, not just from the Premier League. So I understand what he's saying when he argues that footballers should not necessarily be taking pay cuts because it's a PR exercise that they should. Now, I sat here at the beginning of the week, Andy, and I said to you, I think it's obscene, the sort of money they earn. I stand by that. I said, twice this week, I said, I think the bubble has burst. I stand by that. I do think it has. And I think there's some serious realigning to be done when finally we emerge from this period of time,
Yeah.
and we will. But I do not think that it is right that because it looks good, footballers should necessarily now be saying, okay, we'll take a pay cut. For what is the first question I would ask. If it is to pay the wages of others in the football club, absolutely.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. If it is to subsidise multinational businesses, which is what football clubs are, then I would say to you, I see no good reason for that to be the case. I would argue more that those who now want players to take pay cuts are guilty of gross mismanagement. Why are some of the richest football clubs in the world in this financial predicament 4 weeks after we stopped playing? Why?
Okay. I agree with a lot of what you've said. In fact, I've said that yesterday. I was chatting yesterday. And I agree that players shouldn't be forced to take a pay cut if the clubs can pay these salaries. Why should they take a pay cut? As long as the others in the club, the non-playing staff, the rest who make these huge clubs run and function on a daily basis are being paid as well. I have said, I think, and I think it will happen, you might disagree, if I was a player, I said, and I was earning, let's say 100 grand
Who
a
were you
week.
saying this to? You did a
I just
newspaper
did a piece
article.
yesterday on Jack Grealish
Right.
and a few other things.
Okay.
And
I only ask because I'm looking now forward to seeing that.
yeah, and I said if I was earning 100,000 a week, just as a figure, and the staff were being put on furlough, I would volunteer, Richard. I'm so pleased, like Eddie Howe, Graham Potter, the two managers who have come out and said, I want to protect the club. I'm not saying you should be docking players' wages automatically. It should become a government issue. Let's take money off the football. No, but I do think a player himself, it's a wonderful opportunity. And the one thing about Martin Samuel is right about is the public opinion is against footballers right now.
Absolutely.
Because football's an easy target. Always has been, always will be, because of the money that swirls around in it. So there is a PR battle that's being played out there, whether we like it or not. It's being played out. But I think if the players themselves took it upon themselves to say, do you know what, I don't want anyone in this club losing their job in this troubled times when they can't afford it and they're going into hardship. So I'm happy to give a percentage of my salary, keep it and use it for that. That's what I would say.
I think they are, and I think there are conversations to that end going on at the moment. Lewis Hamilton gets $1 million every time he sits in an F1 seat.
Just $1 million?
And more. I've heard nothing from motorsport. Yes, all right, Mercedes are ventilators and there's all kinds of research going on. They're doing their bit. But the point you make about easy target is the one I'm making. There are many highly paid sportsmen around the world. I've heard nothing from Gareth Southgate, $2.5 million a year. I've heard nothing from Richard Scudamore, who, I keep mentioning this.
What about the multi-millionaire pop stars, multi-millionaire film stars?
Scudamore left with a £5 million payoff because Bruce Buck at Chelsea said that the Premier League should thank him for the work he's done. Thank him? Really? I used the same analogy I did earlier in the week. He was driving the train that kept crashing through red lights, warning lights, before jumping off at the last platform and letting it run
into the buffers.
Absolutely. Now the wheels are off.
Yeah.
I think there are others. Highly paid football directors. Norwich City were one of the first clubs to furlough.
Yeah.
Their top earning director at Norwich, £417,000 a year. Why? Daniel Levy, we discussed earlier in the week, earning good money, £4 million a year. Figured into his contract a £3 million bonus for delivering the stadium. Why? That's his job.
That is his job. I said
That's
that.
his basic
job.
job.
Is his job. That is his job.
Karen Brady, who, and I have to say it, conned West Ham fans into thinking that if they left Upton Park and went to the London Stadium, they would be joining football's elite within 3 years. Where are West Ham now? Bottom 3?
Yeah, well, bottom 4.
And yet she weighed herself in for huge bonuses for having got that job done.
Nope.
Now that's why. Now let me just complete the argument by going to the Daily Mirror, which of course is an entirely different organisation, a very different lean in terms of its politics. Back page, Matt Hancock, Health Secretary, greed it and weep. The references to the story. This is a guy that can't get NHS staff tested.
I know, tested, I know. No, the good news is there'll be 100,000 a day in 4 weeks' time.
But please look at yourself. Now, inside, this is what I found fascinating. Inside, Andy Dunn, columnist. Headline, Tory lectures on morals are a bit rich, but pay cut for players will stop cheap shots. So we agree. But we've got plenty of time, so let me read this to you. If these greedy, uncaring Premier League footballs not doing their financial bit in the coronavirus crisis also want to avoid tax down the road, that's the point here, there are plenty of people out there ready to give advice. Take, for instance, these nuggets in a book on the subject of inheritance tax.
Yeah.
Okay? This from the book. IHT, inheritance tax, is the looming iceberg on the horizon for your estate. You need to plot a course and steer well clear of it. Okay? In the same book, the author goes on offering this advice on hiding money from the prowling tax collector and on avoiding snapping jaws of the tax system. The author is the man who 2 days ago talked about the moral vacuum that football is. The author is Julian Knight,
yes,
MP for Solihull, who this
one.
week called football, particularly Premier League football, of existing, as I said, in a moral vacuum.
Can I just,
Come on.
what I want to say as well, I said it's an easy target. Let me say right now that it's too easy to wipe the paintbrush right across football and tar everybody with the same brush. It's far too easy. Let me tell you right now, there are a lot of footballers, and I mean a lot, Richard, that do brilliant work for charities, for foundations, who set up their own foundations. There's a lot of the foreign players have come into our country, into England to play, that have hospitals built in their name in their own country, back in Africa and other places like that. So many players do so much good work for charities they choose. Unheard of. Don't want the publicity, but happy to pay lots of money into that. So first and foremost, let me say that. There are a lot of greedy players around, I would have to confess to that. But let me tell you, they're not all like that. But, these are extraordinary circumstances. We keep talking about the likes of which we hope we never see again, or anyone has to go through again. So everyone has to be conscious of what is going on around them. And I say again, I would be surprised and a little disappointed if in the next few days a host of footballers don't come out and offer a reduction in their salaries to help keep the people who run the club and keep it going on a daily basis in work.
Why could you give me some kind of sensible answer as to why, and I repeat, multinational businesses, and again, I'm sorry, I say it with a purpose, because football is now a business. Whatever we would like it to be, I'm sorry, that's what it is.
It is.
Why are these clubs in so much trouble?
Well, I'll tell you why. Because the money they have, Richard, is, yes, it's massive, but it's spent. It's spent. They're almost living from hand to mouth. They're waiting in the next trench of money coming in to keep them, the smaller clubs, they're waiting on it. They can't get this money quick enough. It's not like, I don't think, we're not talking about Manchester United, Manchester City, Chelsea, the big boys that you say, who should be able to go through 3 months of turmoil and be okay. But the likes of Bournemouth, Watford's, Burnley's, can they?
Well,
can they?
The team finishing bottom in the Premier League last year was relegated with £100 million.
But how much of that is spent?
Well, then that comes down to management.
Yes.
There's also one glaring omission here. Why did nobody see this? Seriously, every administration taking over at the White House is warned about policy for pandemics. So, if we want to get deeply into this, Trump knew. But why didn't football think that something could happen? Now, I'm not suggesting for a minute we could have foreseen this.
No, no one could.
But why didn't we think more clearly? Or when that 100 million or more comes in for the team relegated, right? There's 40 million for the wages. There's 20 million for the directors. There's 40 million for the electricity bill and looking after the security staff. There was nothing set aside for a problem.
No, but that's what this business has become.
Here's your trap. Wimbledon cancelled.
Yes.
Due to start on June the 29th. June the 29th. Think about that first of all. June the 29th.
Yes.
Wimbledon, £100 million cancellation payout. They've got insurance.
No, but not for a pandemic.
They've got insurance that covers infectious diseases
All right.
So somebody at Wimbledon was thinking the right way. There's no financial loss there. Why wasn't football?
Good question. Richard Scudero might have the answer for that. I don't know. Football, is it because that...
It's because football, I said to you earlier in the week, listen, I love it.
It's selfish, and they're only concerned with their own problems. Man City are only concerned with what they are doing and do. Man United are only concerned with them. Chelsea, Arsenal, they're all concerned with each other. But no one is thinking of the bigger picture.
Cheltenham spread the virus across the country. It's now proven that was the case. Cheltenham should not have gone ahead.
Well, I think we know that.
The comedian Lee Mack spent 2 days at the pinnacle of the jump racing season before testing positive for COVID-19. Told a friend he believed the driver that he was being taken to and from the course.
But you see,
it's only speculation. But the science is now saying should not have happened.
No, that shouldn't have happened. I agree with you. But I think that the people who were at Cheltenham 4 weeks ago and are coming out and saying they caught it now, I don't think it's a 4-week incubation period.
Okay,
for the
how
virus.
about this then from The Guardian? It was wrong to play Atletico, says Liverpool's public health director.
Yeah, we know that now, don't we? Did we know it then?
Yes.
Did we?
Yes, we did. Don't you remember the pictures of Klopp coming out and not wanting to shake hands with people?
Yeah.
We were all on edge.
Yeah.
We just didn't take it seriously enough.
No.
We wanted to play, and that wasn't the right thing to do.
Well, no one knew, did they? No one could accept that what was coming, that it wasn't a tidal wave, it was a tsunami. And that's
Kevin
what we
De
didn't know.
Bruyne from the Times today, we'll get injured if we rush back.
Yeah, I agree with him. Now, and what I've said, you and I have debated this, and I've said again, should the league start? Should it start? I'm not saying you have to come cold down and play. I agree with, I said to you, that'll take 2 or 3 weeks.
He says 4.
Well, I think less, but he knows more than I do. He's a modern day footballer. But I would say 2 to 3 weeks would get you up and running sufficiently to finish the season. So, but it's time. So that again is another time one. So when you decide, okay guys, you've got 3 weeks to get yourself ready. How do we know that? We don't know that. We can't give a date. It's impossible.
Just referring back to our conversation from The Guardian, and the reason I haven't found it is I go through the papers in order. Story here from David Conn and Paul McInnes. Brilliant, the journalist David Conn.
Yeah.
Premier League players may be willing to pay the wages of club staff, say the PFA. So that's what I'm suggesting.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm suggesting.
I think those conversations are taking place, and understandably so as well.
Yes, and I honestly believe that the footballers have hearts. They do care about the people who work in their clubs. They don't just go in every day and pay no attention to who looks after them on a daily basis at the training ground, who looks after them on a match day, who looks after them at the home grounds on a daily basis. They care about that. The vast majority of them care, Richard. And that's why I believe that not having to be told voluntarily, a lot of these boys will be happy.
And you might argue, and I think it was in your mind to do so, that we couldn't have foreseen this coming, and therefore there weren't likely to be contract clauses that would steer us through problems such as this. But from the Daily Mirror again today, John Cross, you see there are many different clauses that people have thought about regarding paying the wages of footballers. John says there are no pandemic clauses in players' contracts at Arsenal. There is a rather quirky one which is in contracts. It's understood one common clause was to put in a raft of player contracts which allowed the club to cut wages if average gates fell below 40,000. Who would think of that?
Well, who would think of that at Arsenal?
But,
my goodness.
But John goes on to point out, quite rightly, that Arsenal attendances, and we've all seen it, they always include season ticket holders, whether they're there or not, which I think rather negates the idea of that little clause.
Yeah.
But it does go to show that clubs can be creative.
Yeah, they can be.
I mean,
I wouldn't be too critical of clubs not foreseeing the pandemic. I really wouldn't. I think it's such a difficult one, Richard, to say.
But that's what I would argue. I disagree. Wimbledon saw it.
Well, I don't know if they saw a pandemic. They saw maybe a problem.
Let me give you the phrase once again. They saw, and this is what would have covered insurance for football. They saw infectious diseases.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
Well, Wimbledon have somebody more clever than what we've got at the Premier League.
This one I found very interesting. Jerome Boateng, from Bayern Munich, went to visit his sick son during the coronavirus quarantine, has been fined by his club for doing so. crashed his car on the way back, which was said to be down to a hailstorm. Boateng says, I know it was a mistake not to inform the club that I'd gone, but I only had my son in mind. For him, though, he said, I accept the punishment, but I find it sad.
Well, it is sad, but Jerome, I'm sorry, it's not just Jerome Boateng. I mean, when's the last time you saw your kids? When's the last time I saw my kids? I stay here. My wife is in the UK. We can't get to see each other except over Skype or WhatsApp or something like that. So, you know, we're all paying a price here. We're all paying a price.
Virgil van Dijk has revealed that the players only talk about the title now and Zen. The emphasis on this headline being on the Zen, because Liverpool players have been working with a psychologist, telling them only to worry about the things that they can control.
That's pretty standard psychological talk.
Is it?
Yes, it is. I think so. Well, would you somebody?
Well,
why? My philosophy.
My
philosophy would be, Richard, why worry about things you can't control? It's like the weather. You can't control that. Why worry about what the weather's going to be like tomorrow? There's nothing you can do about it.
And another one, and the reason I mention this is dates. Again, Sadiq Khan, the London mayor, has said very sensibly, Major League Baseball has cancelled matches between Chicago clubs, St. Louis and the Cardinals, due to take place at the London Stadium in June.
Of course it's cancelled.
So I don't think we're looking at, if we can, restarting. And I've said all week I don't want to enter the debate about when we do, but July, August?
Wow.
If Wimbledon's cancelled on June the 29th for 2 weeks, that takes you middle of July.
But would Wimbledon have debated playing the tournament with no spectators?
Yes.
Would they?
Yes. Instantly
and
ruled out.
Still come up with a
Instantly ruled out for all the problems that we've discussed regarding medical staff, those that have to go and put the tournament on. I mean, there's a raft of support staff. Why put them at risk? And this is what I've been saying about football all week. But English football today, Friday, April the 4th, if you're watching this programme at any other time.
Yeah.
English football authorities today discussed the prospect of quarantining officials and how to protect players once the season resumes. This is something we discussed Thursday, April the 2nd, as to whether or not they can confine them to Stockley Park and use VAR, which some are arguing would bring the competition
into disrepute.
Well,
like the FA Cup.
Well, we did make
like the FA
point
Cup
yesterday. Was it Shrewsbury that went to Anfield and saw a goal disallowed that they would have had probably?
It would have been allowed had there not been VAR. It was allowed, and then VAR disallowed it.
That's been our argument all the way along the line, that you cannot have a fair knockout competition where there is technology involved in some matches
and not in others,
and there isn't in others. No. I would prefer to take the there isn't in others.
Yes,
so
it should be. It's either all or nothing. It should be, as far as VAR is concerned. I can't believe we've got through a week and we've only just mentioned VAR. That's some sort of record, I think. Some sort of record.
I repeat, we are here 5 days a week if you're looking for updated and current debate and conversation, occasionally with guests. We are hoping that Arsene Wenger will join us at some point next week. I said yesterday, Ruud Gullit is a man who's got all football's movers and shakers on speed dial on his phone. He has. But if there is somebody that we know for sure has, that is Arsene Wenger, who of course at the moment is still gainfully employed by FIFA.
Absolutely.
Now, a couple of other matters of business that we need to take care of. For beIN Sports viewers in the Middle East and North Africa. It's been a developing story, this, for the last 9 months. Nicola Crosby, one of our colleagues, presenter of
Saturday morning.
Yeah, Saturday morning show. Thank you for your inquiries. Nikki has given birth.
Yes.
To a healthy son by the name of George. She and husband Chris are at home relaxing and enjoying enjoying being parents. We thought it was best to update and wish them all the very best.
Yeah.
Not just on our behalf, Andy, but also those who watch and enjoy Nikki's company as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And lads, lads and lassies, if you didn't know it, Howie, Nikki, life has now changed forever. It has.
Just to complete matters of business, this programme is also available on YouTube for our international viewers, and it is from the international viewership that we're getting a lot of feedback as well at the moment, which
excellent.
is good.
That's good. That's good. But I think this the players thing is an ongoing story. It's a moving feast, obviously.
But what will happen is they will take a cut. It will, I think.
Please not
the halfway
force.
house will be pay.
I don't want somebody to say you need to take a cut.
And that I think is what Gordon Taylor's trying to resist, because his argument, to go back to where we started, is football clubs should not be in this mess. He's right. It's an easy target as well, Gordon. You're on £2 million a year as a union chief. You said you'd go a year ago. All of those things apply, but I just think we need to find the correct way through this to satisfy everybody. Players will take a cut. For me, I think long-term life's changed forever.
I think you're right. The more I've been reading, the more I sit there and watch certain things happening in football. I think not only is it a terribly traumatic and worrying time and scary time for everybody, but it could be a watershed as far as Premier League football is concerned, Richard. It really could be a watershed. Last word on this programme then to Andy Gray. And we look forward to being back in your company at the very same time as you have watched this next time out.